Good afternoon, and welcome to today's Bright Ideas Lunch Hour program. Today's session will discuss unlocking talent and wellness, experiential access strategies for legal professionals. This discussion is sponsored by the Intellectual Property Law section of the New York State Bar Association. Feel free to unmute your audio and enable your cameras as we encourage you to jump in and engage in the open discussion after the program. At this time, Bill Samuels, Intellectual Property Law Section Chair, will introduce our speaker. Bill?
Hi, everybody. Today I have the pleasure of introducing you to Emeka Kanu of the founder and CEO of Ani, a corporate experiential wellness platform designed to help companies attract and retain talent. Prior to founding Ani, Emeka worked within the Global Partnerships Division of Google, served as a management consultant for Deloitte, and taught mathematics with Teach for America and KIPP. He holds an MBA from the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth and a BS in economics from Trinity College. With that, Emeka, please take it away.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. And of course, Bill, thanks so much for the fantastic introduction. Hey, everyone, my name's Emeka Kanu. And let me get my slides up here. And I'm looking forward to having this great Lunch and Learn series with all of you. Let's get these slides up. Bill, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my slides? Amazing. Okay, great. So, hey, everyone, as I mentioned, my name is Emeka Kanu. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Ani. Before we get into that, I know Bill gave my bio, but just again, bit of background. Have done a couple different things in my career, starting with teaching straight out of undergrad with Teach for America and the KIPP charter schools, if you're familiar with them. From there, went to business school at Dartmouth, and then moved to Chicago, working at Deloitte, and then coming back home to New York City to work for Google. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're talking about experiential access, experiential wellness, and actually a additional subcategory and subtopic of experiential engagement from a client perspective. So what's on the agenda today? Well, we're going to talk about the firm opportunity. So where Ani as a company sees the opportunity within the legal firm or the law firm space, really discuss what Ani is, what experiential benefits actually are, right? Well, let's actually define them, look at the evolution of what these benefits are today and what we're trying to do with Ani, get a sneak peek at some of our current clients and our partners, as well as really hammer down on the benefits of experiential access as well as some of the use cases. And then we'll end, I think, with a great open discussion and just really taking your questions. So before we get into the legal spaces opportunity within experiential access and wellness, I want to tell you a story. Meet Sarah. She lives in New York City. She's 38 years old. She works for a mid-sized law firm, and she's a senior director of human resources. But because of the firm size, she also helps out with some business development work here and there, as she has a strong background in events management. And she loves her work most of the time. But Sarah has a problem, and she doesn't love that. So what's Sarah's problem? Well, really, it's because she's hearing conflicting information from her internal stakeholders at the firm. So she has a junior partner asking her, hey, I need help landing this new client. Do you have any ideas what the partners are doing? No one's really told me how to get these folks on board. She has her chief human resource officer telling her, hey, just, go optimize employee benefits real quick towards something that's more higher utilization. Or she has her managing partner saying, the summer class is really doing well. Can we organize something special for them next week? Sarah's problems are interesting because they're actually not unique to Sarah. They're actually problems that a lot of firms have. And that's where Ani comes in. Oh, actually, before we get to that, we want to break down this opportunity more. So when you think about what we see at law firms from an Ani perspective, we see in really two phases. We see one on the talent side. So the space has naturally high attrition rates as well as turnover costs. And with attrition steady at around 20%, which we understand, right? I personally have worked in professional services industries where, for lack of a better term, people consider it sort of an up or out model. So I think that 20% makes sense lots of times. But when we put that into context of feelings of burnout and higher salaries within the industry, we see that there's a real opportunity to be able to attract, of course, top talent, but more so retain folks for a little bit longer to make sure that you're not having all that training and wisdom go out the door. The other side that we're seeing is in a post-pandemic, post-COVID world where a lot more client interaction is happening virtually, there's a lot of difficulty with differentiating your practice's value proposition in that world. So what are we seeing there? Well, from a senior associate and sort of junior partner perspective, when it comes to how they actually engage clients, how they land deals, they're finding their current systems being a little bit lackluster, as well as some of the training and resources. And then from a senior partner perspective, right, those actual leaders of law firms, they're seeing in-person interaction as a major priority for them. So with both the talent issue and also this client engagement issue, what's the solution here? Well, it's Ani. So we are an all-in-one experiential benefits platform that really helps people teams, so HR teams, as well as people-first organizations thrive. And for us, we think every law firm is a people-first organization because what's the value there? It's the minds, it's the spirit of the employees and all those associates. So what does that really mean? Well, as I kind of alluded to earlier, we actually have an employee experiential wellness platform coupled with a client engagement enablement tool, which really comprises what the Ani platform is all about. But before we keep going to Ani and the technology and really dive into any of the offering, I think it's important to also really define what experiential access benefits even are. 'Cause I think that's a pretty new term for most people. So they're programs that provide free, discounted, or seamless access to cultural institutions or experiences. And this is actually coined by the Google Amenities and Lifestyle team. This is something that I learned while I was working there. And quite frankly, I never heard of this category of benefit either. But what does that really mean? Well, there are things like access to museums, immersive art. For any of you that live in New York City proper, you may have heard of something like Mercer Labs, which is in the financial district. These sort of, let's call it, new form, new age museums where with a flick of a button, you can maybe change the exhibition because lots of it is digital. Urban gardens like the New York Botanical Garden, the Brooklyn Botanical Garden, of course, performing arts, so that's Broadway, Metropolitan Opera, and sports. So that's what Ani actually focuses on today. And quite frankly, we've expanded the definition of experiential access from what at least I experienced at Google to be both between the sort of traditional nonprofit space, but expanding much more into the for-profit space as well. And we're not going to stop there, right? We're always looking to evolve our offering and sort of what we see as under the umbrella of experiential access. So of course, we want to expand into film and cinema for all of our cinephiles, wildlife, music, comedy. Again, and we'll talk about this more throughout the presentation, because we see this diversity as being able to match the interests and the desires of both your associates and your staff, so that's internal as well as your external clients. So what's interesting about experiential access is, as I either said directly or alluded to, this is actually not a net new concept, right? Ani did not create this, but you'll see later on that we're trying to evolve it. But there have been law firms that have participated in this space for decades. And I think some of these firms you'll probably recognize. These are firms that we know for a fact have this experiential access benefits, whether it's corporate memberships to the Metropolitan Museum of Art or to the Guggenheim. Law firms have been investing in this space for a while. So what we want to do at Ani is really enable any firm of size or shape or scope to be able to invest along with them and really have the same level of access. So what does that mean when it comes to the evolution? Well, what Ani tries to do is we try to really make incorporating experiential access within your organization easy, resource optimizing, and really help you differentiate yourself from the competition. So as I was alluding to before, with the law firms that we just looked at, you know, the most of them utilize the traditional model, which is same thing that Google used to do, where you're paying anywhere from 25 to $100,000 plus for a corporate membership, which by the way makes sense, right? These corporate memberships are powerful. They're able to give all of your employees free and unlimited access. And typically you'll have some other benefits depending on the tier that you sign up for, and of course the prestige of the institution that you're partnering with. Um, but what's interesting, of course, is unless you're, you know, a massive firm or you're a company like a Google, like a Goldman Sachs, like a Bloomberg, it's very hard to get the scale and scope of several institutions because having to pay $700,000 a year or millions is not really attainable for most firms. The other piece is when it comes to that client engagement or even team engagement perspective, traditionally most organizations have their HR team or their business development team planning one-off events. And we're trying to really combine both of these actions, but bring them to the 21st century through Ani. So again, through Ani, we're trying to have one platform that provides, manages, and tracks organizational experiential access all in one place, making it easier, less expensive, and of course, saving time, which I think at a law firm, time when it comes to billable hours is probably one of the most important things. So how does that Ani actually work? We like to break it down in really three phases: before any visits start, what an Ani visit looks like, and of course, after any visits. So before Ani, or before any visits start, an employer says, you know, we think experiential access is good for one, our employees when it comes to their wellness, their connectivity for our corporate culture building. But two, we find it to be a great way to engage our clients and really differentiate ourselves. So they get Ani access through a simple subscription. From there, they also can add dollars to employees' Ani accounts. And I'll show this a bit later, but essentially what that money will let you do is that employee, when they do go to the MoMA, when they go to the Metropolitan Opera, when they go to watch Hamilton or catch a Yankees game, they'll actually have money on their account waiting for them. And what they can do is they can use that money to go to that experience along with their own money to either make that experience free or heavily subsidized, really replicating some of the benefits of those traditional models, but across the Ani spectrum of experiences. So once the employer signs up with Ani, an employee downloads the Ani app to, of course, get access to all those special offers, discounts, prepaid visits. From there, we've tried to make Ani as simple as humanly possible. You select your institution, you find your date and time, you book your tickets right on the app. Same thing that you would do with sort of any other ticketing platform, SeatGeek, Game Time, Ticketmaster. We want your employee ticketing and sort of experiential access experience to be that seamless. And of course, because we are a corporate program and corporate platform, after visits on a monthly basis, we do provide that aggregated information that I think a lot of firms and companies want, right? They want to be able to understand where are folks going, how are they using it, how are they engaging with the platform. So we provide that in the form of a monthly report, but we also do provide an admin portal that any sort of team leader can log into and, of course, review the actual corporate accounts information. So who's working with us? Some of the corporations that we're partnering with today, they really have quite the diversity today. Um, we have some financial firms like Rain and Global X, some technology firms like Bubble, Microsoft, TikTok, and then of course we even have some, let's call them professional membership group like the Greenwich Village and Chelsea Chamber of Commerce, and also Magnolia Bakery, and also the Business of Fashion. So we have found that our experiential access benefits are really valued by a wide range of professional organizations. And of course, we hope to start to grow within the legal space as well. Again, on who's working with us, this is now on the partner side. I think some of these institutions and organizations and experiences you'll recognize, whether it's Hamilton or the Great Gatsby on Broadway, or the Whitney, or the New York Botanical Garden, or the MoMA. from a museum and sort of urban garden perspective, and of course our growing sports offering with the Yankees and the Jets. One of the things that we really love, though, I'll be honest, when it comes from a uh, client engagement perspective, is those clients that might like a little bit more of the classical stuff. We have that for them too, right? Whether it's the Metropolitan Opera, the American Ballet Theater, or the New York City Ballet, we already see some of our clients using our app for that, bringing some of those clients that are looking for, again, for that differentiated experience to those really special events. So going on with the benefits of to to the individual, we think that really, Ani and Experiential Access has the ability to really supercharge your associate experience from with wellness enhancing in engagements. And what we're hearing from people that are using Ani is almost 70% of them are going to these experiences to sort of feel more inspired and become more creative. Around 75% of folks are honestly going to feel less stressed. And I can speak to this firsthand. When I had these experiential access benefits when I was working at Google, I was living next to the MoMA at the time. If I was in the city, a little overworked, a little stressed, I'd be able to go there, decompress while still in the sort of kind of chaos of the city, but be able to go there, decompress, and sort of be in a other space and become a bit more mindful while, still being somewhat close to my desk. So that was really useful for me. So when I hear employees and users saying that, I'm honestly not surprised. And then, of course, around 80% of them use Ani to have fun. And we'll talk about this a bit later, but we've actually introduced specific functionality in the platform where if you book a ticket to, let's say, a Jets game or a Yankees game or to Hamilton, you can actually promote that out to the rest of your organization, and people can join you in that experience, really allowing people to build community. Of course, benefits to the organization, these are really important. So when it comes to that employer sponsored experiential access, we see one, being able to attract and retain talent with unique benefits that drive community. We just touched on the community piece, but again, what we see for the most part is that this category of benefit, this sort of category of program has really only been open to firms of a certain size. And even then, it's not as expensive as probably those firms want it to be. Ani really expands that out to really any firm, but also to the nonprofit and for-profit space from an experiential access perspective. Being able to land clients through differentiated experiential or in-person experiences, we hear more and more, and actually this idea came to us, this idea of utilizing Ani as a client engagement tool actually came to us because we spoke to, and I won't say which what the firms were, but we spoke to actually back to back a senior director of HR at an investment bank, and then we happened to be speaking to a partner at an accounting firm, and both of them asked, "Hey," or said first, "Hey, we love this employee engagement piece. We definitely want to do that, but also, can we use Ani for sales?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And they said, "Well, we're thinking about how do we engage people, and it seems like your platform not only provides discounted and sort of exclusive pricing on the access, but also it can just be a really easy way for us to book these experiences and sort of keep track of how we're engaging our, top prospects, or of course clients that we want to continue doing business with." Going on there, I just mentioned the exclusive pricing, really being able to save time and money with Ani's functionality and offerings. Um, because the app is so easy to use, because you have these experiences kind of served up to you, you don't have to now think and try to find all these opportunities. Whether it's an employee or an associate, or it's an HR leader, or it's a business director or business development leader, these are folks that don't have to spend that painstaking time doing all the organization. They can really do that all through Ani. And finally, like other firms have been doing for decades, being able to promote your brand as a firm through cultural connectivity, I think, is really important. And that can be done in multiple ways, whether that's honestly, having imagery from your employees taking part in some of these experiences, putting that on your website, being able to promote that way, or actually through Ani's partnerships with some of these institutions, being able to directly engage with those institutions' leadership on bespoke activations. So some of the use cases here for experiential access that I love touching on, I think I talked about this just now, but workforce community, and this is probably something that I haven't mentioned yet. One thing that we heard very early on when we were creating this platform was both business leaders and HR leaders were both saying, when we think about how we used to engage our younger generations within our firms or within our businesses, it was through the traditional happy hour. We all get drinks at 5 o'clock. We spend maybe an hour or two. People go home, and then what they were seeing was the younger generations, and I would probably say more so Gen Z, weren't really showing up or engaging in those happy hours. Now that could be for myriad of reasons, but at least the data shows that one, Gen Z employees and some millennials, but more so Gen Z, one, don't find drinking with colleagues that appealing. And this is definitely true within Gen Z. There's just more uh, there's less drinking overall, right? They say they call it being sober curious, right? People that are looking at being sober full time, being sober overall, and really giving up drinking. So when we think about our baseline offering for Ani, we find it to really provide more inclusive ways to engage your employees. They're able to go to a museum, go to a baseball game, go to a show where drinking may be happening, but drinking is not the main focus. So we really see a lot of employees using these benefits together. The other piece is on recognition, because, and of course, law firms do, of course, reward folks well, whether that's from a direct compensation perspective or other benefits. But we see a lot of our teams actually using Ani as a reward system. So whether that be through volunteerism or pro bono uh, uh, um, um, experience, or for maybe an anniversary with the firm, we see folks actually gifting employees either Ani dollars on their account or direct tickets because they're trying to move away from, let's say, more physical items to more experiential ones, because that experience is something that the employee will tie back to the firm. We talked about these before, but I'll reiterate, one of the big things that we see is people honestly using our experiences to reduce stress. Um, and I guess this is coupled with being able to use Ani not only on yourself or your clients or with your colleagues, but also with your loved ones and your family. So because of how the platform is built, you can really use the benefit anytime. So we see a lot of folks being able to say, hey, I'm going to go to the botanical garden with my spouse and my two kids. And of course, we can see that on the app because we see those child tickets being purchased. So being able to really help folks come back to work on Monday, really energized, ready to go, and ready to hit the ground running for the client, I think is really a powerful use case when it comes to using Ani really as a productivity tool. And I think this might be one of my last slides here, even though I do have an appendix to go through once we get to the Q&A if people have more questions. When I think about industry-specific examples, I think about two differentiated ones. One is the internship program, right? Your summer associates. And I've actually done this with not law firms today, but we are looking to do this next summer, but with some technology firms that have a large internship class, as well as financial firms. It's providing your summer class with Ani as a wellness benefit. So that way they can increase their connectivity and therefore really drive offer conversions at the end of the summer. Give them that sense that the firm cares, give them that sense that the firm invests in their holistic life. I think it's a really powerful tool. And even from an internal operations perspective, being able to, again, to really save the firm time and money by booking your next group outing through Ani's exclusive offers. So the next Yankees game ticket, the next group Mets game that you want to take the summers out with, book that through Ani. One, it's fast, it's easier, and it's going to be cheaper, quite frankly. The other example is really again on that business development piece. You know, those folks that are on those senior associates that are on partner track and those junior partners that are trying to figure out how do I differentiate myself from the competition? How do I engage that client more directly? How do I win that new book of business? I think providing those rising attorneys with a business development account with Ani helps them facilitate more memorable client interactions and drive deal making. And finally, again, from the internal perspective, because we as Ani have direct connections with lots of our experiential providing partners, we can actually help through our bespoke engagements marketplace, help you plan your next, let's call it high end, next bespoke, next super memorable all client experience, whether it's at the ICP, the Whitney, or one of our immersive arts venues. So that's what we do. I think that's my last slide. Thank you for the time, and I'd love to take any questions. And of course, feel free to scan the QR code, get time with me, ask me questions, all that good stuff.
Well, thanks very much. We'll open it up for questions. If anybody has a question, please feel free to raise your hand.
And if you don't, I do too, so don't worry.
I do have a question.
Yep.
How is this, how do you guys make money? How is this billed to the firm? Absorbed there? You know, what are your insights on that?
Yeah, great question. So the way that we make money, we make money from actually two sources. So one primary and one secondary. So when a company signs up with us, what they do is they pay us a per employee subscription. That's either going to be $2 per month, or it's $15 a year for that upfront discount. So that's one piece. And then in some scenarios, we do earn a small percentage on tickets sold, but that's not all the time. Yeah. Now, when it comes to the actual billing, so of course there's that upfront annual or monthly subscription billing. But let's say a firm wants to add $200 to everyone's account. So they'll pay that money up front. Everyone that downloads the app, if they download it for the first time, or maybe they've been on it for a year already, that $200 will be preloaded onto their account, and now they can spend that money. The beauty of that system is that there's never any surprise expense on the firm side. The firm is deciding how much they want to contribute, and then it's taken, and there's never any additional contribution until the firm decides to do it. And I guess the beauty on the individual side is that the individual employee is able to use their employer provided Ani funds alongside their own money as well. So if they had $200, but they want to take their entire family to go to see Hamilton, they can use that $200 with their own money to buy those tickets directly on Ani.
Anyone else have a question? I have a follow-up question. Discounts, you mentioned something. Is that something that you would negotiate exclusive discounts for folks that are on the platform? Is that participants decide whether or not to provide certain types of discounts? Like how does that usually all kind of play out?
Yes, great question. We negotiate those discounts and all exclusive pricing on the behalf of all of our clients. So essentially, anyone that gets access to the Ani platform has that access, because Ani is actually a closed access platform. So you can download it from the App Store, you can see it, but you can't create an account until we work with your organization. So because of that, we're able to get that preferred pricing. And just for more context, that ranges anywhere from 10 to 40%, typically at the 20-25% range.
Okay. And if people like had ideas for things that they would love to see on the platform.
We love that. We love ideas. I mean, in multiple spaces in the app, you can message us directly. We typically respond within, well, typically 2 hours, but at the very max 24 hours. And we love recommendations, quite frankly, because that lets us know it's at least important to one person. Let's now figure out how important it is to other folks too.
I have a question.
Hey, Donna, how you doing?
Hi. Good, thanks. So, I may have missed this, but you've been talking about Hamilton. So does it help you get tickets or just pay for the tickets when you get there?
To help you. Well, you can buy, so what it does is you'll see Hamilton's live inventory. So I've built direct ticketing integrations to all these spaces that are listed on our app. And what happens is I've negotiated with actually I have a deal with all of Broadway. So I've negotiated a deal with all of Broadway to get preferred pricing. So what and yeah. So what you'll see is when you open the app, and let's say you want to buy Hamilton tickets. Let's say you want to buy 2 of them for next week. You'll
Mhm.
open the app, you'll see the discounted price. You'll pay with either your own money, your employer money, or a combination of the two. And then you'll get the tickets in your email, like you would with any other sort of technology platform.
Okay, so let's say if I rent myself, tickets aren't available for 6 months. Is that the same for you for on the platform, or do you have some
Got
advance ticket?
got gotcha. Great question. If you look for, I d- I don't know the answer to that question. I'll be honest. I don't know what you
That needs to
well
be a
well
feature.
I say that because in that example, I mean, you can always find tickets because someone's going to sell them to you just for more money. So, what I'd say is our tickets would be less. I don't know if there's a scenario where I would have tickets that you wouldn't be able to find somewhere else on the internet, to be honest. But what I would assume is that our tickets would be less expensive because we have this closed access system and because we have negotiated these deals directly.
Got it.
Yeah, of
Thanks.
of course.
Any thoughts of potentially like and I mean this might be like way off,
Mhm.
but like um restaurant access, things like that.
Uh, so great question. Okay, so let me just give a bit of background. So I'm I'm laughing because I'm thinking to, a number of years ago when I was first thinking about the idea of Ani. One of the reasons why I developed this platform was because while I was working at Google, I won't name it, but we had this third-party platform that would have things like, oh, go to a restaurant, order 2 entrees, get a third for free. I'm like, well, I like to eat. That sounds great, right? And then I go to the app and I look at the offer and I try to figure out how to use it. And it's telling me things like, oh, write this 16-digit code on the receipt that the waiter's going to give you and then give it back. And I'm thinking to myself, there's not one chance that that's going to work, right? There's not one chance that that waiter has been trained on this obscure platform to write a code. And so the the short answer is we don't have it. The long answer is that I definitely want to incorporate that, quite frankly, because I think food is very experiential. I think food is, in many cases, cultural as well. But I want to incorporate food and culinary experiences once we can have the technology backend that will make it as seamless as everything else, right? I want you to be able to use your Ani app to scan on the credit card, a machine, and any dollars that you have from your company or dollars that you have on a card on file can just go to that automatically with any sort of discounts or perks. I want it to be as seamless as possible. So until we're there, we'll have to probably wait on that, but that's definitely a part of the plan. Let me ask some of you. I mean, first I'll ask from the employee engagement wellness side, and then I'll ask a question on the sort of business development, um, you know, partner track training side. So on the engagement, employee attraction, retention side, you know, do any of your firms invest in these spaces? Do they invest in experiences? Do they uh, provide lifestyle spending account or stipends to employees.
So my firm is in Philadelphia. We have a small office in New York. And so there's a logistical issue with, where do you even, we're not all together, and that's probably the same with a lot of people. I mean, I think we'll take associates out to a Philly game. Frankly, I've never gone to. I'm a Knicks fan. Um, but we probably send Grubhub cards to people. Maybe that's it. Yeah, I don't think we really do a whole lot other than like a summer associate program that takes place in Philly. But
Gotcha.
we have clients all over, including New York.
Gotcha. And then from a business development perspective, this is again, we're just now testing this part out. Folks seem to be liking it. They're basically using the Ani app for business development needs. You know, when it comes to how you're preparing those folks on partner track, how you're enabling people who are building it, but maybe don't have all the connections that someone else may have to land clients, to, build their book of business. What type of support is in, and this is me as now speaking as a complete novice, right? Being just very transparent. What type of support do either your firms or firms that you know about provide those folks that are trying to get to that next level when it comes to engaging clients?
Really, sometimes it's just the opportunity to go to an event.
Gotcha. So as in that person just goes to a sort of broader networking event that they know that client will be at, or just a
Yeah.
place where, gotcha. Okay.
Where they know a client will be, or in an environment of prospective clients at an event of some type.
Yeah. And there are a lot of networking events, which either you love or you don't love. I mean, just to get thrown in and say, go network is kind of hard, even if you've
Yeah.
been doing it for 40 years.
Yeah. Gotcha. Gotcha. And I think that's why before we even developed the business development beta, I think that's why those two folks, both at the investment bank and the accounting firm, asked me, "Hey, can this be used for sales?" Um, because I think what they were thinking was, let's say that that junior partner or rapidly rising senior associate does meet that potential client at that broader event. How do they then build that relationship going forward? How do they maintain that? How do they eventually win that book of business? Are there techniques that that anyone on the call has seen those more let's call it, I guess, more folks more junior in their career take when it comes to that sort of work? Or is it just the typical steak dinner and then
Anyone who
discuss?
hasn't participated have any thoughts?
Hmm. I mean, if I understand your question, like if you meet somebody at an event or you're sitting at a benefit table and you meet somebody, you might follow up on your own
Yeah,
with them. Is that what you're asking? Yeah, so it's really just follow up, I think, on your own, like, hey, let's get coffee or something like that, but it's really up to the person only.
gotcha.
Do you
Makes
agree,
sense.
Bill?
Yeah, no, totally. I feel like the client development uh, uh, angle really can wholly and completely depend on whether or not there's someone else that decides to mentor you in that space, or you find yourself in a situation of like it's sink or swim, and you figure out how to swim.
Gotcha. Now,
Mhm.
if that's essentially the norm, is there, and this is again, as a novice in this specific space, is there a thought that there could be people that with a bit more guidance could have swam and really swam well, but didn't have that either mentorship or I guess perspective on really how to get those deals done before it became too late?
I feel like there's a lot that goes into that. Um, are you talking about it just from an event point of view or?
Oh, more broadly in
Re-
terms of just business development, you know, when it
I
comes
think,
to,
I
yeah.
think it's actually like and this, Donna, you can feel free to chime in, but the business development part, there's plenty of uh, uh, people that are doing it, that they're more concerned not about whether or not someone can develop business as to whether or not they can bill the hours.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Mhm.
So you either kind of have it, or you use your own resources to go out and learn it and figure it out. But in the meantime, you better be cranking out hours.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Mm. I think that's right. I think even in places that are not as blatantly hour focused, like, people are encouraged to network and whatever. There's no real, I mean, it's hard to generalize, but I don't think you get a lot of, like, no one tells you how to do it, really. No one, I don't think. I
So,
think you sort of have to figure it out yourself, even if you have the time. No one really tells you how. Um, I at my old firm, we handled a giant case that is still going on and was tons of money. And um, the guy that brought it in, his advice to young people was keep in touch with people that you meet. That's really his advice.
gotcha.
Like I met this guy 20 years ago. I send him cards every year, and when he needed something, he called me. That it seems a little like you know, haphazard.
It's sort of like the uh if you can uh keep enough balls in the air,
Yep.
it's a
Yeah.
numbers game. But anyway,
Yeah, that's interesting to think of.
Yeah, that's yeah, that, but yeah, but it's funny because every industry has its own culture around these things.
right.
And when you say, hey, really it's, hey, well, one, can you bill? And really it's a culture of you have to figure it out. And there's not going to be, for lack of a better term, heavy hand holding here, right? Because you sort of made it to this level where now
Right.
if you're on partner track, then you're on partner track. So let's now become a partner.
Right.
Gotcha. Any other questions for me? Any other questions around experiential access, how it can be used both from a talent attraction retention perspective or on a client engagement perspective?
how long have you had the business going now, and where do you see it in 5 years?
Ooh, I love that question. So business has been actively going for a year and a half. Where do I see it in 5 years? Well, I see it definitely from a geographic perspective globally. I do see us hitting all of the major offerings that we want, including restaurants, which I didn't list on my expansion area, but restaurants are definitely there. And then from like a metrics, I think stats perspective, I know I have this somewhere in my projections, but you know, serving 10,000 clients, 3 million users a year, right? Because when I think about both this side of the wellness, experiential access, the employee engagement piece, along with the business development piece, especially in the face of AI and a lot of AI agents for like BDRs and SDRs, and I think the need to differentiate between the sort of flesh and blood person to get those sales and sort of deals done. I see a great opportunity there. So once we can expand both the diversity of our offerings as well as the geographic reach of our offerings, that's when we can really serve, I think, more firms, more businesses, more sales folks, more HR teams looking to really invest in their employee engagement and overall wellness.
Okay. Anyone have any other questions? Well, I know it's a bit early, but I just want to thank you for your time and for filling us in about this. It's certainly something that I think that people don't value and think about on the level that that they get return from this type of opportunity. So very cool.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thanks for your
Appreciate it.
time.
Thank you, Donna. Appreciate it. And appreciate all
Thank
the
you.
back and forth. Appreciate you participating.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
All right.
Cool. Great.
So unless anybody have anything before we wrap it up for lunch?
I guess not.
Twice.
All right. Well, if there are no more questions, this concludes today's lunch hour discussion. Thank you, Emeka, for your time and insight today. And to our guests, thank you for choosing New York State Bar Association programs. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.
Thank
Take
you.
care, everybody.
Bye.